Hi, everyone, and welcome. We'll be getting started here in just a moment as everyone comes in from the waiting room. Thanks for joining us today. We'll be kicking off here in just a moment. Thanks, everyone, for joining us for our Fundamentals of Finance webinar. We'll let a few more folks come in from the waiting room, and then we will get started. All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Fundamentals of Finance, Setting Our Children Up for Success. My name is Holly Mazaka, and I'm the president of Bartlett Wealth Management, and it is my pleasure to be here with you today. Today's event is hosted by We Invest, Bartlett's program, Women Empowered to Invest. Bartlett designed We Invest to support the unique financial needs of our female clients. And as we continue to build this community and dig deeper into conversations of meaning, what we're finding is that this topic of financial fundamentals, talking about money, financial literacy, just continued to rise to the top. So we created today's webinar as a way to help all of you jumpstart those conversations with your children, grandchildren, and any other young people in your lives. As I reflect on the topic of building financial fundamentals, I'm struck by just how daunting, how big of a topic this really is. And we often hear the term financial literacy used as an attempt to put a pretty package around everything that we'll talk about here today. But when we think about literacy as it relates to reading, I often think of that as a black and white term. Either you know how to read or you don't. But what we'll see is that financial literacy is not black and white. It is not one day we don't know it and the next day we do. It is truly along a spectrum, and it's one that we continue to learn over time. At its most basic level, we may be boiling it down for our own children or those in our lives as simple concepts like saving, spending, investing, but it's so much broader than that. At Bartlett, when we talk about building financial fundamentals for children, what we're really doing is providing a toolkit that will help them make informed decisions as they grow. And of course, this toolkit is not built overnight. As every homeowner knows, it takes more than a simple hammer and nails to keep your house in great shape. Simply open up your own garage and you'll recognize how you've amassed a varying set of tools over time. Some have a broader use, while others are more specific. Our guest today will share the tools that we need to help our own children and those in our lives succeed. Tools that we can introduce to them on their financial journeys. I think back to my own childhood and I start to realize those little tools that I didn't necessarily know were tools at the time. They were introduced to me by my own mom and dad, often around the dinner table, on our drives out to visit my grandma, or even on the way home from basketball games. Now that I'm the parent trying to work in these morsels of knowledge around my own dinner table, sometimes it feels more like forcing my kids to eat their vegetables than it does having fun and learning along the way. So what we're realizing every day is that there are ways of making these conversations fun and engaging, incorporating play, and making it so that it's not like eating your vegetables. It's like eating dessert. It's something you want to do. Recently, Bartlett hosted a co-op student, JT Cook, from the University of Cincinnati. And JT spent his semester project discovering and diving into the concept of financial literacy. When he presented his final project to our Bartlett team, he really focused on this idea about how we can gamify some of these topics. His eyes lit up when he explained a program that he himself went through called Financial Football. As you make smart financial decisions in the game, your player advances down the field with the goal of scoring a touchdown. And when you make poor financial decisions in the game, you're sacked, you move backwards. This is just one example of a tool that we're looking at. So how do we use tools like this to incorporate them into our children's learning stream? So our goal for you today is to introduce our panelists and have them share all of those tips and tricks with you. We want to encourage open conversations about money to support more engaged financial decision-making today and long into the future. This morning, we have three wonderful guests. Our leader of today's conversation will be Catherine Miller, a certified financial planner and wealth advisor at Bartlett, who will guide us through a conversation with our two panelists, Ariane Byram, a program team leader of the Girl Scouts of Western Ohio, and Kathy Palmer, Director of Marketing and Communications for the Alpaugh Family Economics Center at the University of Cincinnati. You can follow along with the resource document provided today in your inbox. It will also be provided in the chat link down below as well. This will have a few key resources that our panelists will discuss as we go through today. I also encourage you to use the Q&A link at the bottom of your webinar screen. We will dive into Q&A at the end of today's presentation. Without further ado, I'll turn it over to Catherine Miller.
Thank you, Holly. We're so glad to have you all here today. You know, financial literacy, it's near and dear to my heart, and it's something that we spend a lot of time thinking and talking about at Bartlett. Ultimately, our goal is to help our clients reach their goals. And as we've discussed, one way to help our clients get there is to make sure they feel empowered to make the best possible decisions for both themselves and their families. Financial literacy starts at a very young age, but it's truly a lifelong pursuit. Candidly, I'm learning and growing in this space every single day. My colleagues and I often have meaningful conversations with our clients about the purpose of their wealth. And for many, that involves transitioning wealth to the next generation. The execution, the minutia of that work, that's really our bread and butter. Running the financial plan, identifying opportunities for family gifting, perhaps it's establishing a trust or executing wealth transfer strategies. But it's really the conversation around this that is complex, and facilitating deeper conversations early can be a real game changer. Now, although each of these conversations are viewed through a different lens and are very client specific, we found that often they have one thing in common, and that is ease. We want to ease the stress, we want to ease the anxiety of the person transferring the wealth, as well as the recipient. And we want to make sure that party feels confident that they have a plan and a team in place when that time comes. Building multi-generational wealth is a powerful thing, and many of our clients express real pride in being able to do so for their families. But as the saying goes, with great power comes great responsibility, and it can be really stressful. So the conversations we have with clients and their family are really designed to help alleviate some of that stress and put them in the best possible position for their individual goals. We do have some actionable steps that have helped clients initiate these conversations with family, and I'll share a few examples now. One I've seen is through storytelling and letter writing. So I work with a family who has built a very successful business over time and have accumulated assets through that process. They came to me and wanted to gift their adult children a sum of money, as well as ensure that they understood the meaning behind that gift. So we went through a number of scenarios, options, discussing dollar amounts. Does it make sense to gift stock or cash? What's the timing? What's the frequency? And ultimately, mom and dad decided to gift cash around the holidays. They also wrote a letter to each of their adult children, sharing some family history and expressing some of the core values that were important to them: faith, family, pursuit of intellectual betterment. The one requirement that mom and dad had is that part of the cash gift be used to deepen each child's personal journey as well as their spiritual journey. So this could take the form of a retreat, a pilgrimage, or simply time alone in nature. And the rest of the gift could be used however each child desired: purchase of a new home, the remodel of a kitchen, maybe just long-term investment. The client has since shared that they had tremendous success in this gifting technique. And because of family conversations through the years, the adult children were truly able to appreciate not just the cash gift, but the story of their family's entrepreneurial spirit and work ethic. We've also seen clients host family meetings, and this can help mediate conversations about goals and expectations from both generations. Bartlett advisors have helped facilitate education around investments, financial basics, to all ranges through the use of some of our collateral and tailored content. Whether it's talking about the hierarchy of savings for someone who's just entering the workforce, or helping adult children with their personal investments through a 401k or Roth IRA. We as advisors naturally have a lot of passion for our industry and developing the next generation of financially responsible consumers. Oftentimes clients like the idea of having someone outside of the family teach their children about money concepts. So I'm going to segue a bit and introduce our guests. With us today, we have two amazing community leaders at organizations that Bartlett is proud to work closely with. First, you'll hear from Ariane Byram, Program Team Leader of the Girl Scouts of Western Ohio, and Kathy Palmer, Director of Marketing and Communications with the Alpaugh Center of Economics at UC. Although both of these organizations are local to our Cincinnati office, the information we cover today applies to all, regardless of where you live, and the resources are available to you in your inbox. I'm so pleased to welcome Ariane to talk a little bit about the work the Girl Scouts are doing to empower not just young people, but girls in particular, to make good financial decisions at an early age. Ariane, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Catherine. All right. Hello, everyone. Once again, my name's Ariane. I'm proud to be the program team lead for specifically the Cincinnati region of Girl Scouts of Western Ohio. Just to give you a little background on the difference between Girl Scouts of Western Ohio and Girl Scouts of the United States of America, or GSUSA. GSWO, we serve roughly 30,000 members from Cincinnati all the way to Toledo, including 2 counties in Indiana. So quite a big swath of geography there. But we, of course, are under the Girl Scouts of the United States of America. They are the ones who drive the programming that you may or may not have heard of before. And we'll dive into a little bit of that just so you have a background in case you've not heard of Girl Scouts before or aren't really sure what we're about. So a little bit of Girl Scouts 101. Our mission is to build girls of courage, confidence, and character that want to make their world a better place. And GSUSA specifically, we're the largest leadership organization for girls in the world with about 2.5 million girl and adult members worldwide. I do think it's important to make clear that while we are a girl member organization and girl-led and girl data is what drives our approach, the things I discussed today are still can be applied universally and beneficially to most children. So what we've got on the screen here is what we call our Girl Scout leadership experience. This is our general background and approach to all of our programming, be it financial literacy or otherwise. You can see we've got quite a specific formula here. We look to provide a variety of activities and supportive relationships through some Girl Scout processes, which ultimately brings us to 5 outcomes, which I'll kind of explain a little. Everything we do stems from this model right here. There are 4 pillars in the Girl Scout leadership experience. We have the outdoor department, of course, so everything camp and outdoors is under that. STEM, so our science, technology, engineering, and mathematics all has its own category. Life skills, so that includes everything from democracy and citizenship to the arts, that's all in that category. And then our entrepreneurship category, which is what financial literacy falls under as well. So the 3 major processes that we form all of our programming from is one is we want it to be Girl Scout led. So if they're interested in it, they're telling us and we're making sure we make it happen. It's really important that they also learn by doing. So that hands-on experience, you'll find that's really important across the board with all children, I think. They get a lot more engaged when we're not lecturing to them, where they're actually actively doing things. And then, of course, cooperative learning. So also learning to work together to find various solutions. The outcomes that we're looking for, we want these individuals to have a strong sense of self. We want them to know who they are and what they believe in, along with positive values. Those healthy relationships, of course, are really important. We want them to seek challenges, learn new things. For example, financial literacy, budgeting could be kind of scary topic for a lot of kids. They're like, I don't know how to do that. That sounds really, really scary. Or for a high schooler, applying for a credit card, investments, that's a hurdle even I struggle with still sometimes. And so that challenge seeking and empowering them to believe in themselves and actually, okay, yes, we can make this happen. And of course, community problem solving for all of our community service stuff is always super beneficial. We have found when girls exhibit these attitudes and skills, they become responsible, productive, caring, and engaged citizens. Study shows that developing these attitudes, behaviors, and skills like confidence, conflict resolution, and problem solving are critical to their well-being. Youth who develop these outcomes are happier and healthier. They achieve more academically. They become strong job applicants, and they become successful, well-adjusted adults. So a little bit of a glimpse of the resources we have available both to our members and non-members. This is a screenshot from GSUSA's website. One of the most amazing things for GSUSA that came out of the unfortunate situation of COVID is that we've got amazing videos online available for anybody to access to get a good snapshot and suggestions of activities to do with their kids. And this page specifically is based on our entrepreneur pillar. So each of these age groups, you can see our daisies, brownies, along with the grade levels, the grade levels. And if we had it on the website, we could click on them and actually see, it would take you to an age appropriate activity where I know specifically with the daisies, there's a budgeting game. Some of the cadet ones are based on building a business. So there's a lot of cool free options there that are those are pulled directly from our badge programming that are available on YouTube and for anybody to see. But there's also other programming as well. It's not just entrepreneurship. So the activity zone on GSUSA is a really, really great resource if you're looking for fun educational activities for your kiddos. Our GSWO website is also a good source of information for all things local Girl Scouts. So if you want to check that out, that's always exciting. And whether you're a Girl Scout or not today, we do have a great way for you to kind of experience what we have to offer and what our community partners have to offer. One of my main jobs, I'm not a financial expert, but I'm a girl expert. So my job is to connect with the financial experts like Bartlett and provide amazing programming. And our community partners are coming to Sawyer Point on June 10th. And this is open to the public, not just Girl Scouts. So if you want to come hang out, you totally can and come see what we've got to offer. The registration is for members in case they want a t-shirt and patch, of course. So if you're a member, you can click there as well. So all of that to talk about where does our interest in financial literacy lie? So we talked about entrepreneurship, and we know that financial literacy is a growing concern given the state of our economy. Recessions lead to high unemployment. There's personal and national debt, inflation, financial uncertainty. In order to properly grasp these concepts and prepare themselves for their financial future, today's youth do need a solid understanding of age-appropriate money management and economics. So this, especially given the fact that financial literacy is not a standard component of most K through 12 education, the responsibility has fallen onto families like you and out of school programs like us. So much of why you all are here today. So Girl Scouts has its own research institute called the GSRI, Girl Scout Research Institute. They did a whole entire study on financial literacy specifically, seeing a gap in the available research looking at youth and financial literacy. They conducted a nationwide survey with over 1,000 girls ages 8 to 17 and their parents. So to go over a little bit of those findings, and it is if you're interested in this study, you can also read more in the resource link that Maggie had provided. This study reveals that most girls expect to be independent and financially empowered. They see few gender barriers in their way, which is exciting, and they have high expectations for their future financial lives. However, there still exists these important gaps in financial acumen, and you as parents or caregivers can play a really powerful role in filling these gaps by having discussions with your daughters and your kiddos about money and finances. Most importantly, the girls need and want financial literacy skills to help them achieve their dreams. So the study found some really interesting things. 90 to 98% of girls are confident that they'll have a career they enjoy. They'll be able to provide for their families and own a home. They're similarly optimistic about obtaining a college degree, retiring comfortably, saving money, and making a lot of money. However, in stark contrast, only 51% of those girls felt confident in making financial decisions, and then with a far fewer 12% considering themselves very confident. So we're really looking to empower that confidence, exposure to those experiences, and understanding. It's found that financially confident parents are the key influencers here, of course. 76% of the girls said they wanted to learn about money and finance from mom, 58% from dads, and 43% from class at school. We found that girls are most interested in learning how to save and plan, how to make big purchases and pay for education, all very important things. A third of them were interested in learning how to make a budget and establish good credit. And then 20% of them were wanting to learn the basics of how to run a business. So all of this research is what drives a lot of what Girl Scouts provides in their entrepreneurship and financial literacy programming. Specifically, one big one, when we mentioned Girl Scouts, we were talking about this before we went live, is the cookie program. Everybody loves Girl Scout cookies, but it is not just a fundraiser like a lot of people think. It is a whole program designed for these girls to learn very specific skills. It has its own set of outcomes. We want them to learn goal setting. We want them to learn decision making, money management, people skills, and business ethics. And if you've ever run into a Girl Scout that's selling cookies at a cookie booth, you know they know how to make a sale sometimes. They'll work that line very easily. We have an amazing story here at GSWO of one troop. They were our top selling troop of 2018. So they were high schoolers. And they planned and budgeted everything. They wanted a New York City trip extravaganza. It took them 2 years of planning, research, budgeting. Okay, I need to figure out how many cookie boxes I need to sell so that they could see the sights, do Broadway, and do everything New York City had to offer. Several of those girls also earned our highest award, the Gold Award, and used some of their proceeds to help fundraise for individual projects on top of their already amazing troop goal. So we know that that program really teaches some amazing skills that transfer all sorts of places. Aside from the cookie program, of course, which is a heavy core major thing, we do have our badge suite. So our full line of entrepreneurship badges and pins. And what's really amazing is that it's completely age appropriate. So we very much focus on the progression. What the daisies, our kindergarten and first graders, are learning is it's going to be basic. They're going to be learning what money is, how it works. They're very, very basic budgeting games, like I mentioned with the adventure zone, the activity zone, excuse me. Now compare that to our high schoolers. Those badges are going to tackle bigger topics like, what does it mean to have good credit? How do I get it? What does investment mean? And it encourages them to have conversations with people like Catherine to do their own research and empower them to not only be exposed to these topics, but actually do an activity that helps them retain those topics as well. And so we have a whole financial literacy suite just for that. There's also an entrepreneur line for business building, once again, age appropriate, from toy business designer at the Daisy level all the way up to entrepreneur accelerator at the ambassador level. So really, really exciting stuff to provide. And of course, a whole suite of cookie badges as well. So all of that to say, regardless of if you're a member of Girl Scouts or not, let's talk about bringing those lessons home. You've got a girl or a boy or a child that is attending a program like Kathy might offer, or they've come to Girl Scouts. How do we bring those lessons home? So one thing that's huge is support your kids with opportunities to develop those skills that they need to reach their goals. So encourage fields of study that help with financial empowerment, math, accounting, business, all very important. And encourage those lemonade stands or babysitting businesses. It might be a little, a little mentally taxing to know that your kid is like peddling something to your neighbors maybe, but believe it or not, one of my favorite stories, my little brother, he was one of those, he was convinced he was going to make it big, and he would gather rocks, and I'm talking, he was like 5 years old, gather rocks, sticks, twigs, pine cones, and he went door to door to our neighbors. We actually didn't know he was doing this at the time, trying to sell them. And sure enough, he is well on his way to actually becoming a financial advisor now. So encouraging that behavior does help. Support kids' goals for their financial future by steering clear about stereotypes, especially with women, about gender and money. Don't assume that they're irresponsible and only like to shop and spend. They can't learn to manage money if they don't use it. So make sure that they're getting those opportunities. Steer clear of comments that you might be uncomfortable with math, because if they see that, they're going to start internalizing that as well. And don't assume they don't care about budgeting. It might not be the most fun thing in the world, but they may not necessarily think it's awful. Involve your child in day-to-day financial activities and teach those skills every chance you get. Encourage them to help you at the ATM, cashing checks, building a budget, paying bills, all that mundane, regular run-of-the-mill day stuff. This helps them to understand the complexities of money and finance, because we often only show children the spending side of money, and they'll only hear the side, oh, we can't afford that. Without this, they don't get to see the earning and spending process. So that's a really important component. Make sure you're including your child in discussions about family finances and that shared decision making. Adult conversations about money, budget, finances are going to help them understand family finances, money matters, and overall financial literacy. If our kids are going to understand what it's like to help manage a household and make those big decisions, they should be included in those discussions, and they want to be. So make sure to ask your kid for their opinion. And this, above all else, one of the most amazing things is make sure that you're reflecting on these opportunities as they come up. Are they doing an activity? Are they attending a class? Did they just try something out like a lemonade stand and maybe it worked or it didn't? So talk with them about that and process that with them. Was the activity a success? No matter the event's outcome, you can amplify its impact by encouraging your children to reflect on their latest experience, be it a financial decision you worked with them on or that financial literacy class. Reflection is a necessary debrief that reinforces what's been learned and gives them the confidence boost they need to pick themselves back up if it didn't go so well. That way they can try again and succeed. So my favorite formula is, we like to say, what here at the Girl Scouts is what, so what, and now what. Very easy, very brief. So what did we do today? What was your favorite part? What would you do differently? And what would you repeat? And after you have that discussion, that may lead to other questions and thoughts. So what? What did you learn by doing this? What did you learn about yourself? Why does it matter? And then now what? What are we going to do with this knowledge? Now that we've done this, what would you like to do next? Now that you know this about yourself, what would you like to try next? And continuing that conversation is going to be one of the best things you can do to help them retain that information. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Ariane. Bartlett really needs to get in front of the Girl Scouts. I see a future pipeline of CFPs and investment professionals.
Yes, please.
Yes, and I love the story you told about the cookies. So way back in the day when I was a Girl Scout, my goal was to sell enough boxes to get a prize at the end of the year. I was not thinking about that as an entrepreneurial activity. So that was very impressive. This concept of taking lessons home and really integrating them into family conversations definitely resonates with Bartlett's approach. Kathy, how does the Economics Center help facilitate those at-home conversations with parents? I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you very much. So I'll start with just a brief introduction to the center, just in case Girl Scouts, of course, everybody knows Girl Scouts. It's a wonderful group. I was actually a Girl Scout. I earned my gold award many, many years ago. Just yeah, got a letter from Ronald Reagan, which is very exciting, President Reagan. That ages me a little bit. But the center was started in 1976. We have two sides of the house. We have a side that does applied research, so things like cost benefit analyses for clients, and then an education team. To answer Catherine's question, our education team provides resources to teachers, to parents, to grandparents. We partner with schools, and then we have a ton of great free resources online that anybody can use at any time. There's no cost to use them, you just have to register. So when we think about financial education, especially at the Economics Center, there are important things that kids need to learn about handling money. They need to learn about budgeting. They need to learn about saving and being very mindful with this, creating a spending plan as well, so that you're not overspending, keeping track of the money coming in, the money going out. But beyond that, beyond understanding credit and debt, when you teach a kid about things like opportunity cost, or how to make a very decision driven on like cost and benefits of that decision, identifying needs and wants, what you're really doing is teaching kids how to make very thoughtful choices. So that's a skill that they can apply to so many different parts of their lives as they are met with different decisions, literally from childhood through adulthood. So that's how we think of financial education. We're just providing them with those fundamentals that help them then make better choices in life. So in terms of the mechanics of how we do that, we have programs that are in school. Throughout Greater Cincinnati, we have a program called our Student Enterprise Program, or STEP, that incentivizes good behavior, good attendance, meeting other classroom goals by awarding kids virtual currency that we call Step Bucks. And then on a quarterly basis, our volunteers I think Catherine has been there a number of times, going to schools and run step stores where kids are then given a choice of, you can either spend the money that you've earned on little trinkets or bigger things that they have to save for throughout the year. We actually incentivize saving by giving them interest, paying them an interest. They also get to donate some of their earned Step Bucks, which we then turn into actual bucks at the end of the year. We match those donations. So it really empowers kids to understand that their behavior has positive consequences as well, that they can earn this money. What's really heartwarming for us is in this program, we see a lot of students, particularly in schools that don't have a lot of resources, schools that are in lower income parts of Cincinnati, where the children actually will earn these Step Bucks and then spend them on family members or save up. And the store before Christmas and the holidays is always exciting because you see kids buying presents for little brothers or sisters or their parents. And they're just so proud to be able to take kind of the fruits of their labor and their hard work and then give that to somebody else. So those are some of the in-school programs that we do. And then we also have a resource called Smart Path, which is our free resource that lives online. Smart Path is funded by supporters and grants, so it's free to use. The idea behind Smart Path was that financial economic education at face value can be a little dry. So learning about supply and demand, learning about stocks and bonds, understanding what interest rates are, isn't incredibly scintillating to little kids. So we decided, as I think that you heard from Holly and from Catherine, this notion of gamifying, that to put this in the context of a game and a story makes it more relatable and more engaging for kids. So Smart Path isn't worksheets. It's not like a bunch of really static resources. It actually is a platform that starts each level. It's actually leveled content. So it goes from preschoolers all the way through the end of middle school. And it starts with stories and interactive games. We actually have a puppet video series that we'll talk about in a second, that's just a lot of fun. But first, we're going to walk you through the platform a little bit so you understand what that looks like. So as I mentioned, anybody can register for an account. Once you register as a parent or a grandparent or a teacher, you have access to just a bunch of great resources. There's some pre-assessments so you can kind of monitor what the kids have learned, some post-assessments so you can kind of track what they've picked up. And then as you see on the left there of the screen, you can see the different lessons. Each level has 3 lessons built into it. They all start with these really funny little cartoon characters. Level 3 is one that you're going to learn about all sorts of things. You can see there that standard. So as I mentioned, it's a standards-based resource. So The state of Ohio, like most states, has content standards for science and math and English language arts and social studies. And teachers have to build those standards into the curriculum that they teach. We put those same standards into SmartPath. And while you might sort of intuitively get that there's a lot of math, and there is in economics, so kids are practicing their addition and subtraction, multiplication. There's also a little bit of algebra built into this, but there's also some geography and social studies and lots of ELA as well. So in addition to learning about money and learning about budgets and everything else, they're also practicing those important schoolroom skills. So as I mentioned, this is arranged on 8 different levels. For kids in grades kindergarten through grade 3 or so, level 3, they're really basic concepts, things like the difference between goods and services, what scarcity is and why that matters, and how scarcity affects price, opportunity cost, which is an incredibly important concept for kids and adults to understand. Each level starts with a story. So we're going to start with the level 3 story. In this one, we've got a pair of skunks who really want to visit this new amusement park called Stinkland, because that's something that I guess skunks would do, but they don't have enough money for tickets. So now they've got to figure out a way to earn money. So they come up with this idea of making pizza. But of course, you can't make pizza out of thin air or out of a thought bubble. So they have to buy ingredients and supplies. So then once they've bought that, they have a budget for how much they have to spend on those. Then they have to figure out how much to charge for each piece of pizza. So this all starts with, you see this video, you kind of are, the problem is posed, the kids are starting to think through solutions. And then there are some great interactive games that kids can play. So at this level, again, with that storyline about Stinkland and making pizzas and starting a business, kids are learning about things like producers and markets and consumers. What's the difference between a producer? What's the difference between a consumer? And then they actually, for this one, you can't see it here, but it's a drag and drop. So kids literally have to engage with the content to demonstrate that they understand that concept. And as you move through the levels, of course, the content's getting more sophisticated. So by the time you get to middle school, a lot of kids have already started doing jobs. I had a daughter who was a babysitter and made pretty good living as a middle school student babysitting in the neighborhood. Lots of kids are doing yard work, that sort of thing. So at this age, we're introducing concepts like budgets and savings plans. If you're trying to save toward a goal, what does that look like and how can you accomplish that? So this is, again, our SmartPath platform. In addition to the SmartPath platform, as I mentioned, we have something called the SmartPath Puppet Video Series. So this is kind of an odd thing to think about at the beginning, but our former executive director, who really is a national figure in financial and economic education, a woman named Dr. Julie Heath, was reading a story in the paper about a local woman, she's from Cincinnati, who is a ventriloquist and a puppeteer. And she just had this brainstorm of, wouldn't it be great to involve puppets with economic education? That could be a really great way to kind of pull kids into these lessons. So she called the woman, Megan Pifus, you see her down there in the picture on the bottom. She actually, she's in the top as well. She just was hired on as a featured performer on Sesame Street. So she's really having a big moment now, which is great to see. But she and Megan collaborated with a creative team from WCET, which is the PBS station here in town, and put together a series of puppet videos. Actually worked with a guy named Bootsy Collins, who many of you in Cincinnati probably heard of as well. He's a music legend. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and just a great guy who really supports this idea of financial education as well. So they put together a series of videos, again, teaching kids some of the same characters that you see in the platform. We have Blackbeard the pirate, we have BB, the puppets that you see there are siblings that are in the platform as well. And the first series of videos that were out a couple years ago actually won a number of Emmy Awards, which is great. And we're releasing our second set of music videos now. And they're actually air on PBS stations in several different states, Ohio, Georgia, Colorado. And then you can find them on smartpathlearning.com. Everything is basically housed on smartpathlearning.com, the platform, and then some other resources I'm about to share as well. Part of our mission at the center is to make sure that as many kids as possible have access to financial education. Unfortunately, historically, there have been some barriers for different subsets of kids. And one of those subsets of kids is kids with cognitive and developmental disabilities. The lessons that existed were just really kind of flat, just lots, again, worksheets, things that weren't very engaging. So we worked with an interventionist in town to come up with something called SmartPath All Access. So All Access is a series of guides that are tailored along 3 different levels of complexity that present, they're meant to be used in tandem with the platform, but they present that material in a way that's a lot more meaningful, that has some important supports, flashcards, some visual supports, some reduced text, just to try to make this more accessible for a wider group of learners. And this is something that we developed because we're hearing from a lot of our SmartPath teachers that they wanted to use SmartPath with all of their students, but that they needed some additional materials in order to do that. So that's where All Access was born. So again, that's all free. That's at smartpathlearning.com. You can access that, download the guides, print anything out that you need to print out. In addition to the platform and the videos and All Access, we've built out our education team has built out a whole sort of suite of resources, lesson plans, some fun word jumbles, other games, spun out of the storylines that are delivered in the videos and delivered in the platform. That all lives on smartpathlearning.com as well. Those are things that just really cement those concepts that the kids have learned. And it's another way to, if you want to get a kid off of a screen, you can print those out, engage with the content online, and then kind of follow up with something at home. In addition to SmartPath, which is a lot of what we do with younger kids, we have a program that we administer in the state of Ohio called the Stock Market Game. And this is something that we have actually elementary through high school students participate in. But the kids are given a virtual portfolio with $100,000 worth of value in it. And they're the ones who get to decide how that money is going to be invested. So it is fascinating to see their growth over the course of a year. Kids who hit this cold as 3rd graders who don't know what ticker symbols are, that don't know how to evaluate companies for investment, or even what a stock is, what a bond is. So it's so much fun to see them engaging on a daily basis and really building those skills. And then we have kids who are in high school who are just incredibly sophisticated with what they do. We actually had our portfolio challenge at UC yesterday. For the portfolio challenge, we take the top 10 teams in the state of Ohio for Stock Market Game, invite them to campus so they get to see campus, which is always great. And then they present about their portfolio, the success that they had, some of the challenges that they had, and then their investment strategy. And they do this to a room full of adults and to a panel full of judges who are investment industry people. And then they are sort of quizzed on some of the decisions that they made. And to see a 9-year-old be able to explain in great detail how they came up with a short selling strategy was just incredible. Not that I'm advocating short sales necessarily, but just to have a command of something like that in elementary school gives you such a huge leg up. And those kids are already confident about their skills and eager to learn more. And then our winning team from the Portfolio Challenge is a group of students from Walnut Hills High School. And the UC was kind enough to provide some scholarships. So actually 2 of those kids are going to UC. They got college scholarships just for being successful investors as part of the Stock Market Game. So it was neat to see them, and they're both going to Lindner, to the business school. So it was really neat to see that kind of come full circle. So again, smartpathlearning.com, Stock Market Game. I would be happy to make any kind of connection that anybody would want to have to those programs. Stock Market Game, you can either play with your school or as an individual. It's only $20 to play. And really, they just get so much out of it. And SmartPath, our goal is to just continue to make this as inclusive and as far-reaching as possible. So any suggestions anybody might have about groups that could use these, I'd be happy to help facilitate that.
Well, that's very impressive, and both myself and our firm Bartlett has been involved with the Economics Center for 7 to 8 years now, and the work that you do is truly critical as we think about the next generation of consumers, investors, and employees. I think today's panelists really illustrated not only the importance of financial literacy, but several ways that we can make it fun and engaging for all age ranges. I particularly liked learning from Ariane and Kathy on how parents and grandparents can get involved in this education. I hope you all enjoyed hearing from our panelists, and once again, we're so appreciative of your time. To wrap up, I want to make you aware of the resources that you have available to you, which you can find in the resource document, which was emailed to your inboxes this morning. First, the Girl Scouts have an excellent range of materials for a variety of ages, the badge program, statistics, and how-to instructions on how to sign up your child or grandchild for your local Scouts program. Second, the Economics Center has a variety of links to their comprehensive suite of online materials through SmartPath that are available and free to everyone. Now we'll begin the question and answer section for our webinar. And we've had some questions come in already. As a reminder, please feel free to use the Q&A or chat functions at the bottom of the window to submit a question. So I'll start. This is a question that actually applies to both Kathy and Ariane. So I'll let you decide who wants to answer first. The question is, how can I support these organizations?
All right, I'll jump in because I think I beat Ariane to the unmute button. The Economic Center, we have a lot of programs that really thrive on volunteers. And whether it's the student enterprise program in schools, or we're doing something called Market Madness coming up in a couple of weeks at UC's Fifth Third Arena. So if you go to economiccenter.org, there's an opportunity to support those with your time. And then of course, if you're motivated to support one of our programs financially, again, there's a way to do that through economiccenter.org.
Very similarly to Kathy, we are a volunteer member organization. So one of the best things you can do is offer your time. Now, I do recognize not everybody has that. So a lot of the information you can find at gswo.org. If, like I said, if you're wanting to volunteer or offer your time, you do not even necessarily have to have a kid to volunteer either. We have plenty of opportunities for things like this. If you've got an organization that also would like to provide Girl Scout programming, that's always incredibly helpful for us because, like I said, I'm the expert on girls, but I'm not, the expert on many other topics. So that's where we're always looking for partners to work with. Or even if you have a organization that has the ability to offer meeting space, our troops are always looking for meeting space. That's a hot commodity. So if that's something you're interested in providing, that's a great way to do it.
Wonderful. Okay, Ariane, you are in the hot seat again. So this question reads, do the Boy Scouts have something similar that my son could participate in?
To my understanding, so I am not a Boy Scout expert, but I did take a look at their merit badge lineup. My understanding is they do have a couple of financially related badges. I think they have a personal management badge, which is actually a required badge for their highest award. We've got Gold Award, they've got Eagle Scout. And then they also have an entrepreneurial badge, but I can't speak on the specifics.
Okay, that's helpful. To that point, if I have a granddaughter or a daughter, a neighbor who's interested in signing up for the Girl Scouts, what's the best option to go about doing so?
The easiest way is either going online. So you can go to, specifically for our council, if you're in our service area, gswo.org. There's a sign up button right there. You can do it all online. If you prefer to talk to a human, our customer care ladies are amazing and will help you with literally everything and get you placed. If you are not in the 75 corridor, and you're not part of our council, you can look up your own local council. They're always happy to have you, of course. But also, if you go to girlscouts.org, that'll take you to the GSUSA website. They can help you figure out where your council is.
Very good. Kathy, next question for you. My grandson spends a lot of time with technology on his iPad and smartphone. Is there a way to do SmartPath that isn't online?
Yeah, actually, Dr. Julie Heath, who I mentioned before, who was the creator of SmartPath, just finished her first book in what we hope is a series of children's books. They have some of the same characters, and then they will have some of the same concepts embedded into them. So we should have more information about that soon. She's currently looking for an agent, but the book is written. It's a great story about Blackbeard the pirate, and includes some concepts like specialization and human capital. So yes, we will have some of those. And then, as I mentioned before, we have all of those downloadable resources as well that are things that you can download or print out and then do offline.
Great. Well, this is a question maybe a little bit for me. Are there any other books or pieces of literature we might recommend for clients who want to engage their children in some of these conversations. I actually have a few at my desk, so I'll hold them up. The first is money, how to save, spend, and manage your moolah. So this is pretty cute. I have actually browsed through it, so highly recommend. And then the second is called Blue Chip Kids. So this is another one, a little more detail, but I think, both of these are wonderful starting points to teach about some of these more complex financial concepts. All right, well, we are really at the top of the hour. So I'll take one more opportunity to thank all of our attendees for joining us today and our panelists for sharing their organization's resources. A recording of this webinar will be sent out this afternoon, which you can play back at your leisure or share with others. I hope you found this information insightful, and please do not hesitate to reach out to your Bartlett team with any other follow-up questions. You can find our panelists' contact information on your resource document. Thank you all and have a great Tuesday.